Well, good evening, good afternoon. I'm in Melbourne and we're excited because the world's opened up. It's Wednesday, so that means doing sport differently. And I'm really excited, as I say every week, but I'm really excited to be joined by Craig Morris, president of the Port Melbourne Bowls Club. Craig, welcome to the Sports Community live stream.
Thanks very much, mate. And happy to be here and join you.
Hey, I bet you're happy. I can see in the background you're at the Bowls Club and your first day back on the greens after how long?
Well, it's been you can say nearly 9 months. We got back on for a couple of weeks, but it was very, very limited bowlers. So the bowlers midday today they'll be lining up the front door, ready to get in.
Yeah. It's there's been a whole lot of excitement from the volunteers that I've spoken to since Daniel Andrews' announcement over the last couple of days. So we're back into it in Victoria, which is great, catching up to the rest of the country. So Craig, Bowls for Bubs is a bowls program. It's unique to almost just to bowls and just a couple of other sports. Do you want to just give us a little bit of background? What is that program and what's it trying to achieve?
Yeah, well about 2.5 years ago, we had a bit of a deep sort of review of the Port Melbourne Bowling Club and wanted to say, well, how can we diversify? How can we grow within the community? And where was going to be our target audience to grow and not just be seen as a bowls club.
Yep.
Especially when you're on valuable land that you lease through the local councils and things like that. So Bubs and Bowls, what it was called then, was sort of something that was just being launched by Bowls Victoria. So we jumped on board and we spoke to a few mothers groups around Port Melbourne about what days would suit. And the program was sort of, we looked at it as growing our female-based members, but it's not only mums. We get mums, grandmums, carers, fathers. So, but the aim was to grow and sell the Port Melbourne Bowling Club that we are a community club. That was the first part of it. We wanted to get some benefit out of it in the long term. But as we launched, I think the first day we launched it, we do it every Wednesday. We probably had about 6 mums come along with Bubs, and we had blankets on the greens, toys for the kids, coffee, scones, and it just, they rang their friends and said, hey, this is better than going to the local library. Outdoors. So.
Yeah, I have thought, and having some young daughters myself, 6 and 8, just coming through that stage where traditionally, at least one parent is really very strongly devoted to bringing up the children. Finding those opportunities to exercise and socialize in a safe environment for the kids is just vital. And I've always thought bowls clubs were perfect for it. So, how did you connect to the mums in the first instance?
Anything I do from a person is I take a bit of pride in participating. So I think out of every day that we've run it, I've probably only missed 1 or 2 days. I've got flexibility with my work, so I actually come down.
Yep.
Go around, talk to the mums, the dads, the parents. Get them to become part of the club and understand who I am. So we build a connection, and I think that personal touch is what grew. I mean, we actually at times we got too many people here, and I've spoken to council. We at our peak we were getting 35 to 40 parents with prams, scooters, bikes, toddlers, and it was a bit chaotic. So but personal connection. I bake scones for them, jam, cream, and scones. 2 weeks later, I'll do sausage rolls with sauce and things like that. So we do, it becomes a bit of a family affair, and they love it. 4 or 5 years.
And you make them feel welcome. I can imagine very quickly, because I understand, I kind of call it the Mothers Group Mafia with my wife and her, school gate pickups, which I know is not necessarily politically correct, but that network is just so powerful. And if something goes wrong, everyone knows about it. But when something works, everyone knows about it as well. And that they just that support network is phenomenal. So tapping into that is a great opportunity for clubs. Is that what you found?
Yeah, and one of the side benefits we found, even I've had some mums come up to me, and thank us, not just about opening the club, but they then met other mothers.
Yeah.
They met other, who had kids. They talk about their problems, about returning to work and things like that. We even network with them at Crown. I work at Crown. I'm involved in a gender equity committee that drive gender equity across Crown.
Yep.
So even part of that, I ask people, what are you doing when you're returning to work? If you struggle with work, let me know. I might be able to open doors at Crown. So there was a whole story to everything. They are friends. Some of these people are friends of mine now after 2 years.
Yeah, fantastic. And it is, again, it was interesting watching my wife's experience with the newborns. She went from being very active work, very active socially, to almost being disconnected for a period of time while the kids took up all the energies. And so if there had been that program in our community, I know that she would have gravitated to it for the competitive, well, not so much the competitive side, but the social side and the ability just to, to do something of exercise nature would be fantastic.
Yeah. Well, the bowls, and one of the things I suppose we're conscious of, the bowls started to take a bit of a second fiddle to the social connection.
Yeah.
Lovely day. They throw a rug out, they have a little fruit platter out there, and off they go, and they chit chat, and then all of a sudden 2 hours is finished and off they go.
Yeah.
So at times we've got to just encourage, just remind them, hey, you want to try a game of bowls? But we find a lot of them come down on a Sunday afternoon now with their partners, and their partners having a role. So we're hoping it'll grow a membership base and our Pennant Bowler base as we, as the program continues.
So potentially they go from that Mums and Bubs to maybe the Barefoot Bowls with their partners, and then potentially into the pennant side of it.
Well, we've had even we've had them. They book their kids' first, second, third birthday parties. So we're having groups of 60 people come down and book out the club. So it helps us generate some additional income, and so there's really good benefits, all over for everyone. So we haven't seen any come to play pennant yet, but they do come down and play social on a Sunday, and we've even put a little playground area in the bowling green. We had a little area that had a few plants and that, which we removed, and put a little interactive playground for toddlers.
Fantastic. How was it received by the members when you started to go down this route? And we haven't talked beforehand, but I know bowls clubs well, so your reaction kind of.
Yeah, look, a lot of the members who are, and I've bowled with them for 30 or 40 years, but some of the older are still the old thing, and they shook their head first and they said, "What's this guy on? What's he on about?" But I think now they start to say, "Hey, we could see he had a bit of vision, and it is going to be better for the club, because we're not going to be around for the next 10 years. So you need a new breed." And and you need just new blood, and a lot of these people, they've got jobs, they've got careers, and they might be able to contribute to the club in other ways down the track. So convincing the old stay members that this is a good change, especially if you know Port Melbourne. Port Melbourne's sort of a bit of a hard-nosed men's sort of thing. So really it's helped us redefine Port Melbourne, and we're not just as a men's bowling club, where we are open up to the community, and we've extended. We do yoga on the green now too, so we've got yoga on the green, so mums come down and do yoga. So yeah.
And for those that don't know Port Melbourne around the country, Port Melbourne's a traditional blue collar working suburb, and that's the suburb it is, but fantastic to be creating those opportunities, because as you said, like the unintended consequences, you're now getting revenue out of them. Not out of them, but they're coming to you because you've introduced your facilities, and they're looking around and saying, this is a safe place. The kids are brought up there. They know what they can and can't do. Yep. You mentioned council. What did council play a role in it? Because I would see them as the logical connector between the mothers groups that are continually being created, and introducing them the mothers groups to the Bowls Club?
Yeah, so our sports recreation officer got involved in very early. So they had networks with other mother groups around the city of Port Phillip and also Port Melbourne, South Melbourne, Albert Park. So they advertised there and go.
Oh, just lost you a bit there, Craig. You
Yeah,
there?
sorry, I apologise. So
That's
yeah,
all right.
so we use them. They advertised it across their advertising and community network. So they really helped in it. They come down earlier on and helped us in regards to just covering, working with children, having signed off in case you take photos of any children, getting permission to use any photos and things like that. So they helped us just to cover, dot the I's and cross the T's. And occasionally they still drop in every now and then and help out. So, and Bowls Victoria helped out too. So they were very supportive. It's been great.
That's where I was going. I was going next with did you engage Bowls Victoria as well? Because a lot of clubs feel like, or they don't even feel like, they just don't realise the support that's around. So we really always encourage clubs where they're wanting to do something different, new, innovative, whatever it is, go and talk to council, go and talk to the association, and go and talk to the peak body, who they kind of always see as compliance and big brother, but don't realise the help, the support, the marketing, the knowledge, the experience that they can bring to the program just to make it easier for you.
Yeah, definitely. Bowls Victoria are very good, very supportive. And you're right, they're not big brother looking over. If you look at it that way, it's the half glass empty. You look at the half glass, what they can do for you, what they can't do for you. So, and I promote what we do with the local councillors. I promote it with the local members of parliament. And that does, when you then put you're out there searching for a financial grant to support activities. I've had no knockbacks from any of them. So we've been really, over the last 3 or 4 years, as we've moved to diversify, and especially into areas such as gender, and things like that. You get to really, if you get everyone on board, it's easier to put your hand up and apply for grants, and more times than not, you get them over the line.
I'm actually just rewriting our grants training webinars now, and really looking at the across the country when there's participation grants, they're all focused on engaging groups of people that aren't necessarily currently engaged in sport, recreation, or social side of sport, and I think it's sadly women are still tremendously underrepresented in sports participation. One of the things that you focused on there was making them feel welcome and part of the club straight out. So have you seen that being reciprocated? Yes, on the financial side of it with functions, etc., but coming through onto the volunteer side, have you seen some of them start to kind of reach out and look to help, or even get the Bums and Bubs more organised that way?
We've had a couple, because we're doing a bit of a makeover here. So we had a couple that had a sort of an interior design background. So they just gave us some advice about colour schemes, different things, what would go good. And so the challenge that we have when you're on a small footprint of land, which we are, is how much do you do that accommodates that group, but is it going to inconvenience the other group? So you've got to have that flexibility.
Yep.
So we've used some of the mums that have got some experiences, to ask and get their thoughts, but we haven't really got any on as full active committee, whatever, because that's the other challenge with this Bubs and Bowls program too. A lot of them will have 6 months, 8 months, 9 off the mums, and then because of financial, they've got to return to work, and then and I still get emails, we can't, I'm back at work, I miss Bubs and Bowls, but unfortunately that's the cycle that it is. So, you're always getting newer mums in, newer dads, but then you're also losing some back to the workforce.
And that's where that social bowls on the Sunday becomes really important, isn't it? That you've introduced the sport, whet the appetite for the sport and the social side. and if you can transition them into that other opportunity. I'm really interested to note, and maybe it's a fraction early, has it had any impact on your junior bowls within that? Now, obviously the Bubs are, 2 years in, they're not going to be bowling, but siblings, friends, family coming in, have you seen a raised awareness in the juniors?
No, we haven't at the moment, because most of the toddlers, sometimes will come with their Bubs, but they'll also have they're a 2 or 3 year old toddler. So there's sort of that, they're still 3 or 4 year off in getting some sort of thing. But that's the next step we want to get involved in, more so the primary schools.
Yeah.
And try and get them down. So we've had a few programs with the primary and high schools, but it's very hard to get them in a program that's going to have some recurrence and meaningful stuff. But so more so we get them when they've got a void in their curriculum, sporting things. Yes. So we might get a day, because the mainstay sports dominate, so to speak. So yeah, that is a bit of a challenge to grow it and get it there. But yeah, we haven't seen nothing from the Bubs and Bowls and that. But hopefully, down the track, if some of their mums and dads stay connected to the bowling club, and when their toddlers are 6 or 7 or 8 or 9, it might transpire. But it would be, a few years down the track.
I think there's no doubt that it will, particularly if you create that opportunity to create that connection, even though they may not be able to come back regularly, even irregularly, keep inviting them back for the Jack Attack competitions with their friends or whatever it is that you might do. And we often hear that schools are a tough nut to crack, but the foundation of going in via the mothers and building those relationships, the kids going to school, but you've got large numbers of mothers that are already friends before the kids go to school. You may not even need the school to create formal programs. The mothers groups may, in due course, create those programs, and that's what we expect. I genuinely think, and I really look forward to seeing what it looks like over the next decade or so, because I genuinely think that the Mums and Bubs programs will be a significant impetus to junior participation, because as Will was saying beforehand, I used to write, while Bowls Victoria had their monthly magazine, I used to write an article every week for them for a couple of years, every month. And one of the articles I wrote was, bowls is such an easy game. I don't understand why it's the last game we play, not the first game. And when I say easy, I know it's technically hard. I copped a lot of feedback on that, but ultimately it's you roll an object towards another object, and you roll a number of objects, and the closest object wins. It's not like you got to run, walk, shoot, catch, jump, throw. And so it should be the first game that we introduce our children to, and I think that actually is a really positive thing, and I think it will create junior membership moving forward. I'll get off my little soapbox now, but yeah. So, do you have many juniors at the club?
No, we don't. That's the next challenge, is to get some juniors. So we've had a few over the years, but because we haven't had a lot, some of the juniors have then moved to the stronger Premier sort of league clubs, because we're sort of that second tier down at Divi 1, Divi 2. So then all of a sudden, we've had a couple of good ones that have moved on and played elsewhere, because they have to play at them clubs if they get into the state programs, under 16s, under 18. So that's okay. We're probably still, a few years away from being at that level where they'll stay, because we are at that, that premier sort of high level. But that's one of the goals again. And again, as you said, in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, when some of the 3, 4, 5 year old toddlers are here now, 10 or 12, well, hopefully that's when we get them on the green, and they'll become, hopefully superstars, because the younger kids are just, they're down low, their hand-eye coordination, is far better than us when we're 55, 60 sort of thing.
And again, having come through that just recently, the experience of the mothers groups, and those kids potentially will stay friends for life. Like my kids are 7 and 8, as I said, and I'm playing golf on the weekend. Yes, for the first time in months, with one of the fathers of the mothers group that I didn't know prior to that. So So then what that makes it, you can hopefully will get groups of kids coming through because their friendships were probably formed really in the Mums and Bubs program at the club. They weren't bowling, but I think that'll be really positive. You mentioned the fact that the bowls was a secondary thing every now and then, and I think that's an important point to acknowledge. Social is so important. But what were some of the challenges, if there were, in getting the program up and sustainable?
Oh, look, I think there's a few of it, depending on how their child is on the day. So, trying to hold if some of them have got the little bubs, they have them in the little carry thing and they had a bowl. But if they got their little ones, also got their toddlers are running around.
Yeah.
So we even tried to get a little babysitter, a young lady who was around who's a babysitter to sort of help out. But I just think it's just sort of they bowl a couple of ends or 2 or 3 ends. They enjoy it, and then they love sitting around on the blanket and having a chat and having a coffee and things like that. So, some bowl and some get a bit more competitive. The others, some have a try and some just sit back and relax. We're not too concerned because I think it's just this thing will just take time. Momentum will drive the outcomes longer down the track.
So I'm assuming that most of the, and we'll generalise and say women just for the moment, but most of the people that are coming through the program wouldn't have bowled before. So how are you teaching them the actual sport, or you're not really worrying, or they're just learning it, or so how are you doing that side of it?
Yeah, so what we did, we're lucky enough, we got a grant to buy some new bowls. So we bought some brand new training bowls, size 2, so the hands, it's easy for the mums and the hold. So we always have a couple of bowling members volunteer down here, so they're at hand. And typically we just go back to basics. We put the white bowl up the oven, the kitty, and the mat, and then normally we'll just stand there and say aim between our legs.
Yeah.
And then they get an understanding, because otherwise they stand and aim straight at the kitty. Well, it's not going to, it turns away. So we normally we put a little marker down and say, just try and roll around that marker so they understand the principles of the bowl, how it moves and turns. And they get it. Some of them have got some good touch. Some of them haven't, but yeah.
So just in a group of 10, because I think this is an important point, just a general group of 10, how many of them would be interested in actually learning the sport and developing the sport, do you reckon?
Probably, the 4 is probably probably 40%. Four every 10 would want to sort of play it more than the others.
Yeah, less than half. Yeah,
less than half. And then you probably got another 10 or 15, 20% that would do it once every 3 or 4 weeks, and then you might have a few mums that just tried it once and it doesn't do it for them, but they're still happy to network and meet new friends.
The social side of it. And look, I think from the social programming perspective, I think that's very consistent across sports, that what we're hearing through the Doing Sport Differently program, that it's that kind of 40-odd%, but that's a big opportunity. If you're recruiting, 30, 40 people, then 10 or 12 of those people are genuine recruits to take on a journey that may end up in the pennant side. But the recognition that that's not going to be for everybody is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, and what we've decided we were going to do before the last shutdown, but what we're going to do this time around, we're actually going to have a Bubs and Bowls tournament. So we're actually going to not force it, but encourage them to play, a couple of, it may be 2 ends, and the winner plays them, and then we'll have a little trophy and we'll put their names up on a perpetual shield in the rooms that, so-and-so won, Bubs and Bowls champion.
Fantastic. And again, it's, I guess I only start to understand this as we get older, but as I got older, that while we say those things aren't important, they actually are pretty cool. They are. We like to get this.
We like to win.
Yeah, we like to be recognised and those sorts of things. Just going back though, just to the social side and that 60%. One of the things that one of the themes coming through is choosing the volunteers to help this, the social groups is a really important task, because traditionally all the people that are at our clubs at the moment generally are competitive. They're there because they want to compete. And so sometimes it doesn't dawn on them that people would come to the club to participate, and competition's the last thing from their mind, and so that focus on social versus competition is really important.
No, you're right, and we've had a few volunteers that I've sort of had to have a chat with after and sort of say, hey, just because they didn't get it close, it doesn't mean they weren't, trying, sort of thing. So yeah, you're right. You got to have that balance and appreciation that they're starting out on the journey, and we got to be supportive in that. So yeah, you got to forget about the competitive edge, sort of thing.
Yeah, and yeah, that win at all costs, everything's serious. But I guess bowls has kind of gone through that with the introduction of Barefoot Bowls, where the poor old traditionalists had to get used to loud music and different formats, different not the strict uniform requirements and those sorts of things on the green. So I guess they're getting used to change, the poor old bowls traditionalists.
No, they are, yeah. And look, the change. I've been involved in bowls for 40 something years, and the change is, it's been too slow, I think, the change.
Yes.
But now the acceptance is there, and it's interesting. I think when I started bowls, the average age of if there was an Australian bowl side, might have been 55 years of age. Now the average age of the Australian bowl side that represents Commonwealth Games is 26, younger than the Australian cricket side, sort of thing. So that's good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So just in leaving, because you're being so generous with your time, but if we're a club thinking about setting up, if I'm a bowls club thinking about the Mums and Bubs program, or another sport thinking about going, rightio, we can create this sort of format because our facilities are fantastic for this this activity as well, or in their sport, what would be some of the advice that you could, or the words of wisdom that you could share to just make it easier as they start that journey?
Yeah. If you're going to go down any program, you've got to be in it 100%. Got to be committed. You've got to provide the personal touch, and there's got to be some consistency. You don't want to have someone there one week, then the next week, the next week, and next week. So you have some consistency. That builds rapport. You've got to incentivise. We give every Bubs and Bowls parent that comes along a free social membership. So all of a sudden, we've got another 120 social members. So you get that, and just things that create long connections with the mums, the dads, the grandparents, and the kids. We do an Easter egg hunt at Easter. Christmas time, we have a Father Christmas come. First couple of years it was me. And get pictures taken. So we've got mums that have come in and said that's their first Father Christmas photo.
Oh, wow.
Ever. So, so I think you got to do that. I did, and I won't mention the club. I went to another club that was struggling, and I went there and I said, where's your Bubs and Bowls? They said, over in that corner. And there was 4 or 5 mums sitting in the corner and knowing there, and I just, it's not going to work. And don't think of it as revenue. And some clubs charge straight away. If you don't see it as a short-term revenue raiser, give something and you'll get something back down the track.
Wow, what a great little words of wisdom just to finish off. Give something and you'll get something in down the track. And it could be one of many things. It could be a family of volunteers forever, a family of players, a multi-generation family of players. It could be anything. So give a little bit to introduce your club. I think that rapport and that relationship, so people feel like it's their club, and giving the social membership is such an important part of it, because when you give a membership, when someone's a member of something, they start to feel like they belong to it. It's their club. It's not like they're just not like an intruder. A number of little things that all combine together to create a successful program, Craig. So thank you so much for sharing the experience of Port Melbourne Bowls Club, and good luck. Are you getting on the green yourself this afternoon, or are you?
No, I've got to shoot in the work at the moment this afternoon, so I'll miss out this afternoon. I'll come back tomorrow.
There's the life of a club president, isn't it? Do the hard work so everyone else can have the fun. So,
All right, mate.
Craig, clearly you're in demand there at the moment. So thank you for sparing a little bit of time with us at Sports Community today.
Thanks very much, and thanks for letting us share our story at Port Melbourne Bowling Club.
Oh, Craig, it's been fantastic, and congratulations to Bowls Victoria for making it all possible, and of course, Vic Health for helping us get this doing sport differently up and out every week, so we get to tell the stories of clubs doing sport differently and creating ways for people to be involved. So I'm Steve Pallas. Craig Morris, thank you very much for being part of